Kaixo egunon, ongi etorriak Donostia zinemaldira, gaur kafe bat hartuko dugu Barapels filmeko taldearekin. Hola, buenos días, bienvenidas al Festival de San Sebastián. Hoy nos vamos a tomar un café con el equipo de la película Barapels. La película del Reino Unido compite por el premio Cuchabank New Directors y el premio Dama de la Juventud. Es un estreno europeo tras su paso por Toronto y es la película escogida además para inaugurar la sección New Directors. Hoy nos acompañan en este café Jonatan Etzler, el director, Jess, la guionista, y Oscar Plymouth, el productor. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
So my first question is for both of you, Jonatan and Jess. How and when did you decide to adapt the Rasmus Linden book, The Unwanted, and how did the screenwriting process go?
So I read the book. I think it was in 2019. I read it, and I thought that the sort of the idea behind it and the kind of moral dilemma that it presents was so interesting. Like, how do we deal with people who can't fit into society? So yeah, then started developing it in Sweden for a little while, but then it never happened, and another year passed, and then I started working on it in the UK, and then Oscar and I talked to Jess, which was great because she had also like experience of being a school teacher, just as I. So she sort of knew what this main character is going through.
Yeah, so as Jonatan just said, we met through Oscar, and I'd been working with him on something else, and I really enjoyed that process. So when he sent me Jonatan's pitch deck for Bad Apples, I just loved it and thought it was such a brave, weird, dark idea, but also very funny, which is such a unique tone. So we met and discussed the idea, and I think Jonatan wanted to set it in the UK, so obviously I had that background, and we kind of just worked quite organically from there, really, to kind of recreate the story in the UK and add in elements like, certain story elements that just I felt would kind of strengthen it, but actually, kind of stayed very close to the original premise because it's already so strong, I think, and the whole thing went quite quickly. We sort of just went with it, and I think I started writing sort of late 2022, and then from there it went just quite organically, and it was a really lovely process.
If I understand you well, you were involved in the project since the very beginning, even before the scriptwriter was in the project. How did you two meet, and how did you decide to work together in this project?
We were introduced by Jonatan's agent, and I saw his film Get Ready With Me, which is a short film about a teacher and a student's relationship, which just was one of the best short films I'd ever seen. And so I was really excited to meet Jonatan, and then he had been developing Bad Apples as a Swedish project, but then he said, maybe this should be set in the UK instead. And so then we started to explore it in the UK and thinking of potential writers who could be a good fit. And as Jess said, we had been working on something else and knew each other, and I just felt the tone and the ideas that Jonatan wanted to explore, I felt would appeal to Jess. And it's been a very enjoyable collaboration the whole way through.
Mm-hmm. Part of bringing the project to the UK is also the cast, which is like really incredibly, hilariously protagonized by I don't know how to pronounce very well this name, Saoirse Ronan. Is it well? Okay. So when did she came to the project, and how did you work with her and with the other actors and actresses?
Yeah, Saoirse was our top choice. We just all thought that she's perfect for the part. So we sent the script to her, and we thought that it was like a long shot, but after a week she responded and she wanted to meet. And I met her and we talked about the project, and she was really keen on playing an unsympathetic character, someone who makes a lot of really bad decisions. So she was really excited by that, and she loved Jess's script. Uh, yeah, so we got our top choice, which was great. Yeah, and I mean, Saoirse's amazing. She's one of the greatest actors of our generation, I think. So, yeah, we were very lucky to have her.
As Jesse said, it's a hilarious comedy, but it also addresses very profound issues. It talks about our education system, about what do we do with the children that deviate from the norm, and how do we exert control on those variables. That's a question for both of you. Do you believe that, like, maybe the comedy is the best genre to talk about really serious issues?
I would say so. I'd say it's up there. Um, I think comedy enables people to go to places that they aren't comfortable going otherwise. And I think if this film wasn't a comedy, it would just be incredibly depressing. It's a very, very dark story. So in a way, the comedy allows you to kind of release the side of your brain that wants to stop and go, oh, I can't go on this journey with you, and it sort of allows you to take an audience further. And so I love films that balance the tone between comedy and the horrors of everyday reality. And I think it's essential really to be able to kind of pebble in laughter with darkness. And I always feel that that is a truer representation of life. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of films that are entirely, very, very serious all the time. And that's just because my personal experience of living in the world is that we're sort of one step away from tragedy and comedy at all times. And I think tragedy and comedy are incredibly interrelated. They're just two sides of the same coin. If you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah, I agree. I think like people think that like if you make a realistic film, it has to be like someone doing the dishes, and it has to be like very, social realistic. But I think like people are really fascinating and strange and behaving in the most unusual, weird ways all the time. And I think that's like I think reality is comedy, as you said. I think I agree.
Which are the references of the film, or do you have some contemporary comedy references or classic even? Because I can see some of them in your film, but
Oh, that's interesting. Which ones do you see?
well, I can see some contemporary filmmakers such as Ruben Östlund that are making that type of comedy, but talking about society too. I mean, and other maybe American comedies too. So I think it's a mixture between both of them, and that's a personal point of view. I'd rather ask you if you have any
Oh
references.
yeah. No, I really like Ruben's films. He's a fellow Swedish
Yeah.
director. And yeah, I think one of my big influences also is Todd Solondz, who made he's still making films. He made a film in the 90s called Welcome to the Dollhouse, which is like quite a dark story about a girl in school, and it's really funny. He's like a master of the dark comedy, I think. Do you have any references?
Yeah, I think for me, I've always loved, there's a kind of strand of British comedy that's very, very dark and quite surreal. And I'm a big fan of absurd comedy and surrealism generally. So I think for me, I always think of shows like Nighty Night. So Julia Davis is a big influence. She's a British comedy writer. She made films, shows like Nighty Night, Camping, and they're just about these kind of weird, reprehensible characters, yet somehow you kind of end up rooting for them. And it's just amazing how she manages to do that. And also, I think I grew up watching shows like The League of Gentlemen and Psychoville. A big fan of, The League of Gentlemen's work as well. And again, it's very, very weird, very dark, and yet the characters have three dimensions. And I think, that always stuck with me.
So the film was in Toronto, yesterday it was screened for the first time in San Sebastian. How was the screening? And I would also like to ask you, how do you think like the festivals help or, serve to the films in film industries and the films nowadays?
It was fascinating watching it with a totally different audience. Toronto was brilliant, and the reaction was amazing. But what was very interesting yesterday was there was a real kind of. It felt like the audience empathized so strongly with some of the characters in a slightly different way to Toronto. So I think kind of the cultural sensibilities being different, the audience, it's just a different experience with every audience. But absolutely, it was totally amazing last night. And film festivals, I think, it's what it's all about. It's, Jonatan's been working on the film since 2019. We filmed it 18 months. You go through, you have to work really hard, and then you get to come to places like San Sebastian, and it's amazing.
So as a last question, I don't know if you are already working on a new film project, and if so, if you can tell us something about that, we will be very looking forward to seeing it, and we will be following you, but I don't know if you can say something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on a few different projects. One of them is I guess even darker. It's like a sort of modern spin on a classic surveillance thriller. But apart from that, there's also some other ideas that I've been thinking about a lot. So right now, of course, the focus is really just like getting Bad Apples out there and seeing how the audience responds and what happens. I mean, how what that will give birth to, sort of. So yeah, it's an exciting time, I think, and it's been so much fun being here in San Sebastian. I think, as Oscar said, the audience is great and the city is really beautiful. So yeah, it's like, I think a film really doesn't exist yet until it reaches an audience. It's like a tree falling in the forest that nobody hears. you know. I'm just so happy to be here and screen it, and I really love this part of the process.
Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your stay in San Sebastián and the Film Festival. Muchísimas gracias al equipo de la película. Os vamos a dejar ahora y podéis seguramente atrapar la película en siguientes pases, y si no, esperamos que disfrutéis del Festival de San Sebastián.